So, speaking of media, which is a fantastic segue to talk about sex.
All right.
So, Buying Time does contain occasional nudity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Considering that it would still work without it, which is, it sounds so mean to say it, but I mean, why did you choose to depict like genitals and occasional nudity? If the storyline would work without it, must have been a choice you
Mm-hmm. Um, I think the most obvious answer is it's fun to draw, and the fans dig it. So I
made.
think
We
that would
do.
be
That's very fair.
the very to the point answer. But I think I don't know. I mean, I was kind of brought up watching anime, and I mean they're certainly not strangers to fan service.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I don't know. I guess it just kind of became a normal thing for me to expect that kind of stuff when there's like a nude scene, or to not be afraid to depict that kind of thing. It's just kind of, I don't know. I also think in a way that when you kind of choose to, when you make an effort to censor yourself when there's a nude scene or a sex scene, you kind of, at least for me as a reader, I find that kind of more um, abrasive than actually seeing what was depicted. Um,
So
if
it would
you're
take you out of it a bit.
yeah, if all of a sudden there's like a plant like blocking whatever, or if there's like shadows out of nowhere, it's kind of like, well, okay, that's kind of more jarring than seeing what you're actually censoring.
Oh, true.
And
When it's comedic, it can be quite fun. But when it's things like I grew up with the yaoi genre, when they just throw terrible, useless censorship of things like, and now there's a tiny speck, or
right,
now there's a little black line, where you can still see the rest of it. It's like, we know it's a penis. What are you trying to hide?
yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, when you choose to censor things for your audience, you're kind of, I don't know, you're almost in a way like patronizing them because it's like you're making that choice for them that they're not that they can't handle that kind of material or that they would be offended by that material. And
Yeah,
I think
it is
it's
babying a bit.
you shouldn't really, I don't know. Well, yeah, exactly. You shouldn't. I don't think you should baby your audience like that.
True, and I agree with that. And I really like the one. There is one spoiler alert, I suppose, chapter 4. There is one sex scene in the whole thing so far, and it is incredibly tasteful and minimalistic, as is the whole thing whenever you depict things.
Hmm.
And like, what rating would you say the comic has, considering it is? It is totally tasteful. It's not gratuitous. It's not smutty. That's for sure. And the one scene is very tender and nice.
Um, I don't know. Um, I think it kind of skirts a line between rated R and NC-17, maybe. I mean, like it's like you said, it's not like super gratuitous, but at the same time, it doesn't really shy away from showing, full frontal or an erection or whatever. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of there. Like there it is. So I don't know, I guess it kind of skirts that line.
I think that you once said in comments as well that it's nothing you wouldn't see in a HBO or a bold art house flick.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
is
I
a good
mean,
way of putting it.
yeah, it's you see that kind of stuff on HBO all the time. So it's I don't know. I think we're getting less and less sensitive to that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Well, especially now with Game of Thrones as well, which I'm very happy with how it seems to equal things out. It's not just, as these things often are, just women getting naked. Game of
Hmm.
Thrones is everybody. There's all sorts of people getting all sorts of bits out, especially Theon
Yeah,
Greyjoy.
yeah, absolutely.
Poor bloke, but he is a bit of a dick. Interestingly, your first page of actual sex sparked a lot of interesting discussion in the comments.
Hmm.
And did people react how you expected them to? There was a lot of people kind of applauding you for being tasteful or restrictive or doing it in the way that you did. It was strange to receive like a small little golf clap for a
Right.
sex scene.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know how people would respond to it. I'm really pleasantly surprised with how they did, but I was pretty nervous going into posting that page originally because I just didn't know like what people would think. Uh, Everyone seemed to think I handled it pretty well, and they were happy with it. I got the couple odd comment here and there saying either it wasn't enough or it was too much, but you can't please everyone, so you have to please yourself.
Well, if someone's asking for more, then an encore isn't necessarily a critique.
Right. That's the thing too. It's kind of like here I was all nervous that I'd shown full frontal and both characters with like erections or whatever, and I'm like all nervous to post this page, and then when I do, I get this comment saying like, "Oh, it should have, you should have gone further with it." And it's like, okay, here I was being all nervous about it, but there
I'm
you go.
guessing I'm guessing that's why you decided to restrict it to a single page as well.
Um, I think so. Yeah, I think if I had done more than one page just of sex scene, it kind of would have crossed into the line of gratuitous and not really story related. It's kind of like here it is, get your fix kind of thing. Enjoy the view, but now it's time to move on with the story.
That makes sense. It's very similar to what E.K. Weaver said from an interview with her about the teacher in the mall, is that she stops showing the sex once it stops being relevant to the plot or character development. And I think that the same worked for that scene very well as well, because it showed Vinny's nervousness and his feelings that his not having updated in ages.
Hmm.
And it showed everything it needed to show. Anything more would just be born. But
Right.
it's actually plot developing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where that fine line comes in. It's like, how do you make it like a nice, sexy looking scene, but at the same time kind of not cross into the line of like, okay, this is just straight up porn now and there's nothing happening.
Mhm. I think you did very well, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks so.
Oh, thank you.
Do you tend to go to conventions as a dealer and or as an attendee?
Not recently. I used to attend anime conventions quite a bit when I lived in Calgary, which is a much bigger city than where I am now.
Oh yeah, and you've got the Calgary Comic Expo for that one, which is
Yeah,
pretty big.
yeah. I mean, I love going to conventions. Where I live now, I'm in like a little tiny town in New Brunswick, and just nothing ever happens here. And we don't even have an airport here, so even to fly out to go to see a convention, it's like it's just such a big deal. So it's been a while since I've done anything like that, but I do miss them, and I did used to go to them quite a bit.
The only things I've heard of New Brunswick are all from Arrogant Worms songs, and so yeah, they're probably quite insulting. Which of your characters have you seen or would you like to see cosplay?
I haven't seen anyone cosplay the characters yet. um, who would I like to see?
Personally, I'd like to see Jelena just because her hair and outfits are just freaking amazing.
Yeah, she would. That would be fun to see for sure. Um, some of her hairstyles would be quite a feat to pull off, though. Um, I don't know. I guess I'd like to see Vinny. I think he would be easy to pull off. You wouldn't need any. You wouldn't need to build any like synth parts or any anything like that. If you were to go as like Galvin or Papa or something like that, but with Vinny, you just need to give yourself a mohawk and a hoodie.
True, true. And it would actually be. It's great that there are more characters now, thanks to Papa and with Vinny. More characters that overweight people can cosplay. Because that
Right.
is always a friggin' pain in the ass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree, and I mean that's kind of one of the reasons that I made Vinny the way he is. It's just I always found the character, that kind of character archetype, a lot more interesting than like the stuff that we see in anime or in comics or movies.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you know,
Oh, definitely. And
the ki-
thank
the
you as
kind of
well for
character
making.
that's usually like a side like a sidekick or the comic relief or something.
Yeah, so rarely the main character. It's so annoying. People who aren't doubly 20 to 30 something cisgendered heterosexual white men, people who aren't from that demographic normally have a little bit of difficulty finding someone to look up to or be inspired by.
Right.
Easiest way of putting it. Also, on that note, thank you very much for making Galvin and Jelena not white.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
It's such a stupid thing to compliment for, I know, but again, cosplay, it needs more diversity.
yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted to make them I just wanted to make a really diverse cast, like as diverse as I could. And that's, I mean, with the introduction of Sybil, I wanted to put in, a nice curvy girl.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I just love kind of a diverse cast in all sorts of ways.
No, Sybil hasn't even said a word yet, but she's already quite interesting.
Yeah,
If you could collaborate or meet with any other creatives, living, dead, fictional, or otherwise, who would you like?
I think one of my, or I don't know, let's say two of my favorite artists of all time are Carlos Meglia, who is famous for Cyber Six. Um, I adore his work. He passed away in 2008, I think. Um, Geez, there's so many great artists that have passed recently. Mobius, who
Oh, of course. Mhm.
yeah, passed a few years ago. Frazetta, same case.
I'm still
Uh,
not over Satoshi Kon.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
I
Satoshi
know
Kon.
it's been a few years now, but that was losing someone pretty big to
Yeah,
good anime.
that was rough for me when he passed because I mean it was like he was really starting to turn out like some amazing, and his work is phenomenal. It was
Hmm.
really sad to think we wouldn't be seeing any more of his stuff.
I know, right? And again, he is tasteful. His drama is dramatic. His comedy is friggin' hilarious.
Hmm.
Anyone who's not seen any Satoshi Kon films, they're all really different. Is the other thing. Um, Paprika, Tokyo Godfathers, and Perfect Blue are all really good places to start.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Although don't watch Perfect Blue alone in a dark room at night.
Yeah, Perfect Blue was well, I guess that was his first that was kind of widely available, wasn't it?
Mm,
That was the first one that I started with, and it was kind of a love affair since then.
it's really good, but goddamn, is it creepy?
It is. Well, I mean that's a testament to how great he was, because I mean, how can you make like an animated film that creepy and that disturbing?
Mm-hmm.
But let's see, I'm trying to think of some living artists. um,
Not
I'm
everyone
big
is dead.
I'm big into 80s to 90s era Masamune Shirow.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not really a big fan of his stuff now, but I mean, like Ghost in the Shell and Appleseed they're just masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jerome Moore, who is I think he does the character design for Young Justice, the animated
Oh,
series, and
oh,
I think he did some character designs for Green Lantern Emerald Knights.
oh, fantastic! Because
Uh,
Young Justice went way before its time. Because
oh
that
yeah,
that was such a good series,
yeah, that was phenomenal. I loved that show.
and it emerged in the midst of DC making so many terrible decisions to see this one
Hmm.
thing just go so perfectly. Ah,
Yeah, I don't know what the story was behind that, but it was a
oh,
great show. I don't know
there's a
why
few
they canned
different
it.
there's a few different theories. Some of them are more annoying than others. That's a whole other topic of conversation. People go check out Young Justice. It's a seriously good cartoon.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the other guy I'd love to collaborate with. His designs are just so tight, and he's got like the perfect balance of like cartoony and realistic like proportions and faces.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the perfect balance. I love his stuff.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. His style would work really well with yours as well. If you were listening, make this happen.
Yeah.
Please contact ATJ. Freelance for hire. Do you have any plans if there's like an occasion or just if you're interested in that of live streaming, either the drawing or animating of the comic?
I've thought of doing that for sure. It would have to happen at some point during like a hiatus. Um, I think it would be tough to kind of fit in during like the regular production schedule, but um, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to doing that kind of thing if people wanted to tune in. I think the trick would be I'm pretty self-conscious at times, so I think I would have to have like a page that's nice and cleanly roughed and ready to just like go into cleans, stuff like that. Um, the people would be able to watch me do cleans and do animations and stuff. So for sure.
Cool. rounding off, quoting a thing that you said earlier, would you prefer to see Buying Time on HBO or as a bold art flick?
I think it would work better as a series on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you'd be able to cover the amount of story in a movie, but I don't know, in a movie you could probably get away with a couple more things that you could over something that would be broadcast on television. So I don't know, it's a tough question, but
Although again, Game of Thrones these days, who knows where the limits lie
true,
now?
true. Yeah, they certainly aren't afraid.
Not afraid to kill
Um,
people off or have sex.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I would go with a series on HBO.
Mm-hmm. Again, HBO, you're listening. I would be very impressed. Um, and finally, a thing that I just love asking people, which is so relevant here. If you could have any one cybernetic implant, what would it be?
um,
You can cheat and say full body if you want to, because you did design that, I suppose.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be ready to go full body. I think I would definitely start with maybe upgrade, maybe something similar to what Galvin has. You know, get those that nice video recording and snapshot recording capabilities. I think that would be
Heavily
pretty
useful.
great. Indeed.
Well, genuinely useful in everyday life, though, because it would be nice to know that if anyone like shortchanged you or cut you off on the freeway or something, then you would be able to actually say that. No, no, I've got evidence of it. I record all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Super cool.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. I know that it can't be a fast process making a comic that is full color and animated, and you're at a backlog now, and doing your freelance work and making apps.
Yeah.
You sound pretty busy from what your about page says.
Yeah, I am definitely. But no, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's been a joy. People can check out Buying Time at buyingtime.the-comic.org. It updates every Sunday, although we're about to go into hiatus. The next update will be 1st of June, and that'll be the end of this chapter, and so you'll have several straight chapters just to blitz through and get totally caught up, just in time for the Q&A portion, if that's going on with a hiatus. It has done before. Are you doing Q&A this time?
I am, yeah. I was still need to decide which character we'll be doing it with, but
I'm
I don't know.
looking forward to seeing it because it was a really interesting way to put forward more of Papa Aubrey and Fridge's personalities, having them answer questions.
Yeah, no, it's been a joy to do those segments. It's I don't know, a good way to get some audience participation in there and kind of flesh out the characters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
And show off more Swatch Camel, of course.
Yeah, of course, always a good thing.
So pretty.
We'll have to see which character to go with. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it up to a vote or something.
Ooh, that's an interesting idea. My vote's on Jelena. Also, since this is probably one of the few times I get to ask, would you pronounce it Jelena or Galena?
um, I would pronounce it Galena, but it's the name comes from a certain kind of gemstone, so I don't actually know what the proper pronunciation of that is. I've
Ooh.
always gone with Galena, but
Any
if
geologists,
someone,
please contact
yes,
us.
yes, exactly. If someone who knows better than I would how it's pronounced, but
Fantastic.
there you
And
have it.
are you on any social media? How can people keep up with you or how help support the comic? I know you have a little donations link.
I do, yeah. There's a donations link on the page. Um, as far as social media goes, I'm kind of an old man about that. I'm I'm not really on Twitter. I'm not really on um, Facebook. Not really on Tumblr. So the best way to get in contact with me is through comments on the comic page, or if you go to the about page on the comic, you'll find my email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the comments are actually quite a nice place to have some discussions with people. So definitely check those out too. In that case, thanks so much for talking to me and have a lovely, if cold, day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.